Right now in your niche, there are probably a few hundred people saying the exact same thing as you are. Same advice, same hooks, same voice that really isn't a voice. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. And here's the part that should bother you the most. The people that you are trying to reach cannot tell you apart from any of them. You think you've got a reach problem. You don't. You've got something way worse than that. And I would bet that nobody's ever named it for you properly. Because the coaches and the gurus have all told you the exact same fix, right? Find your angle, niche down, be more you. And you tried, and it didn't work, and you thought to yourself that maybe you just got to dig deeper. I'm going to show you why that advice has been making you quietly invisible this whole time and what's actually erasing you. And I promise you it's not what you think. A bit of context before we move on so you know that I'm not talking out of my ass. I am a 10-time award-winning filmmaker and I've helped entrepreneurs make anywhere from 25K all the way to six-figure plus off of one video. But honestly, this story is not about me. It's about you. And there's this moment I'd put money on you having already. It's late. You're scrolling your own feed and you suddenly stop on somebody's post that you follow in your industry. Decent hook, solid tips, a nice clean carousel. And just for a second before you catch yourself, you go, wait, did I write that? Tell me if that sounds like you. Because that little flicker, that post could have been mine. That's not nothing. That's a warning shot. And here's what makes that sting. It's because you didn't get here by being lazy. You actually got here by doing everything right. You followed the advice, you studied the people winning, you showed up, you posted consistently, you put in the reps everyone swore by. See, coming from a film background, when I entered the entrepreneurial space, the first thing that I noticed, it wasn't that the content was bad. It's the fact that it was identical. There's hundreds, if not thousands of people grinding it out every single day, and somehow everyone manages to be making the exact same thing. So no, this was not about whether you were trying hard enough. It's about you being obedient. And it turns out being obedient is exactly what's making you disappear. So let's take a look at how this happened, because right now you are standing inside of it and you can't really see it from in there. Someone in your niche posted something that popped. A format, a hook, 3 things I wish I knew, stop doing this, start doing that. It blew up. So hundreds of people started to copy it. Because logically, why wouldn't you copy something that works? Then the folks who teach copying packaged it up and sold it to thousands. And now you got an entire niche running off of the same 7 hooks. And here's what I caught that everybody fails to mention. When you all start optimizing in the same way, optimizing stops being edgy. You think that you are building a brand, but the coaches and the gurus really handed you one. And they issued the same exact brand to everyone else who bought the same exact course. And after sitting back and kind of dissecting all of this over the last few years, the one thing that should probably piss you off the most, because it upset me, is that it felt like progress. Because remember, you're posting and you're showing up and you're putting in the reps that they promised you would work. But the numbers just kind of stay there. Or you get lucky, they pop once and then they flatline. And for the life of you, you just can't figure out why that happened. Because by every measure you were handed, you're doing things right. Does that sound familiar? Because if it does, it's really cruel. It's cruel because you're not losing by not following the rules. You're losing because you actually are following the rules. One could say that you followed them perfectly, shoulder to shoulder with 400 other people that are doing the exact same thing. Okay, here's where everything turns, and I need you to sit with it for a second, because what I'm about to share with you goes against everything that you have been taught up until this point. Every fix you've tried has been about being more original, sharper angle, tighter niche, hotter take, more you, and none of it moved anything. And you figure, okay, Maybe I just haven't found the right angle yet. So back to the drawing board you go to find yourself a more unique opinion. You want to know something? Your opinion was never the problem. You could literally have the most original opinion in your entire industry, and unfortunately for you, you could still vanish. And you will vanish if you pour it into the same structure as everyone else. Because people don't really remember what you say, they remember the shape that it came in. The order that you know is this: hook, tip, 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 little bow at the end. That order that you've been taught, even if you're like genuinely different about what you're saying, that structure is going to come out tasting the exact same way in your audience's mouth. Which now leads me to tell you that you do not have an originality problem. You've got a structure problem wearing an originality costume. That is simply why niching down will never save you. It's never worked. It's why your unique angle never landed. That's why getting more authentic just made you a more authentic version of the same shape that everyone else is in. Yeah, you were changing the words, but the thing that was making you all identical was in the order that you were putting them in. So here's a shift, and it's smaller than you think. It's probably so small, and that's why it is so easy to be overlooked and missed. Can I assume that you wake up every day asking yourself, what should I post today? Because if you do, that's the wrong question to be asking. And look, I'm not on the other side of this screen pretending that I floated in from content heaven, okay? I literally made the same junk for years, and for years I posted that junk, and I watched that junk go nowhere and do nothing. And the dangerous territory is that you start blaming the algorithm when it's not really the algorithm's fault. And just like many of you, I also did blame the algorithm for my videos and my content not working. But it still didn't stop me from waking up the next morning and posting the exact same junk again. What that is an entrepreneur just throwing darts in the dark and calling it a career. What you're doing is making a bunch of one-off posts. You are not building a body of work. You make a post, and then another unrelated post, and then another unrelated post, and another, and none of them talk to each other. They end up lasting as long as it takes for someone's thumb to keep them moving. I want you to try this instead. Stop making posts and start making episodes. Like, actually think of yourself as running a show. A show has a world, a through line, characters, tension. Episode 2 only works if you saw episode 1 and then it makes you like itch for episode 3. That is really the whole reason why you binge anything, right? It's all connected. And why this matters for you is because almost nobody in your niche is doing this. That already gives you an upper hand. And by the time a lot of people catch on, it's going to be a little too late. So when you actually start building your content and posting like a series and treating it like a series rather than a slot machine, you are going to slowly stop being like the other 400 to 4,000 people that bought that exact same course. You become the person who starts building something people actually want to follow. This is literally what I do. The thing that you're watching right now is a series. This is not a single post. This is episode 4 of something much larger. Maybe you're watching this right now because you watched episode 3 and something just pulled you in. Or this video popped up in your feed and you're watching it for the first time, but you're now curious about the other 3 episodes. That's the entire point. On this channel, I got a documentary about my weight loss journey called Always the Fat Kid. I have my main series called Lefty that you can watch episodically. I don't make content, I make shows, because shows are the only thing people actually come back for. The second this clicks for you, the very next thought is going to be, okay, well, how do I make this on my own and for myself without it eating up my entire week? Fair. That's a real question. So I put together my anti-content script system for only $7, and you can find it in the link in the description below. It's modeled around my favorite production studios, A24 and Neon, And it's set up in a way where you can get your first episode out the way in 60 minutes or less. And I have it for $7 so I can kill the next excuse that's about to come out of your mouth. So before you go off creating anything else from this point forward, sit down for a moment and ask yourself what your show would be about. And if you think hard enough, I'm pretty sure you already know the answer to that question. And when you figure out what that show is, drop it in the comments because I'd love to know more about it.